Okay, so today we're going to talk about open houses, what to do about them, how to get a lot of people over to them, and then how I actually go a little different route than a lot of others. And then what you can do as well on asking others for open houses. In the very beginning, when I was doing real estate, you didn't really have leads. You're just trying to find how to do business, and doing open houses is the best thing you can possibly do. I did them every single weekend. I still do them for all of my listings, at least the first couple of weeks, definitely the first week and second week, but sometimes the third and fourth as well. One, it looks like the seller thinks I'm being busy, which I am. It's a couple hours out of my day. It's not too bad. But not just that, it's a potential way for me to sell the house. But on top of that, I'm not really looking to sell the house. Yeah, it would be great, but I'm looking to pick up buyers from the house. And so a lot of the times when I don't have enough listings, usually what I'll do is I'll actually ask other realtors, hey, can I do an open house at your listing? And it doesn't even have to be at our company. So what I was doing before was there was a guy at Berkshire Hathaway who I knew did top-notch mansions. That's all he did. It was mansions. And I was like, I would love to pick up a buyer at the $800 million range. Let me go ahead and do open houses for you. And so I did them every single time, every week. The guy loved me. Every time he had a listing come up, he'd call me first. Even though we were at different companies, I was still having an open house for him because I wanted to pick up that $1 million buyer. Because most people who are going to come through that house are looking in that range. So if you're doing open houses in the 4s and the 5s and the 6s, it's a great start for you to work up to that higher price range. And that's the biggest key, is just trying to get to that point, because I'd much rather sell one $500,000 house than five $100,000 houses. It's the same amount of money, way less work. So that's my goal. But not just that, when you can get free leads just by doing the open house and taking your time, it's well worth it. We have open house signs here that you can borrow as long as you bring them back. Then you're more than welcome to use them. But if you do the open house, this is normally what I'll do. So when I'm holding an open house, normally I try and prep about 5 to 6 days in advance for the open house. So say I'm going to look, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys so I can show you what it looks like on my end. Share. Okay. So what I'm going to look at here is the calendar. All right, say we'll start today. I know I have a listing coming up next week. It's going to go live on Tuesday. Okay, I'm going to plan to have an open house that Saturday and Sunday. Now, I never want to put a house on the market on a Friday, and I don't even like Thursday sometimes, because I want people to be able to see that I'm having an open house. So as soon as it goes live on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, people have enough time to see, okay, he's having an open house Saturday and Sunday. Let's try and go to one of those. If I put the house up on the market on a Friday and say I'm having an open house Saturday, it's not enough time for people to actually see that I'm going to have that open house. So normally I'll put it on the market on a Tuesday, and then I'll do Facebook ads for it. It's basically in the range of wherever the house is. So if the house is in Virginia Beach, I'll probably do a range of like 10 to 15 miles around that property. And what I'm going to be looking for, I wonder if I can show you guys an example. Oh, that's great. Let's see here. If I can go way back in time, I don't know if I can actually show you one ad that I did for an open house. But let's just actually create one like we were. So normally what I would do is I'm going to go to Boomtown. Actually, not that Boomtown. Austin.austinjamesteam.com. So my individual website. You all have one. It's your first name.austinjamesteam.com. And then you're going to type in the address of whatever your house is. So me, for example, I'm going to pull out, let's see, my Sandbridge property right here. This one is my current listing in Sandbridge. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to copy this link, go over to Facebook, and I'm going to say open house this Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. And then I'm going to post a link. From there, it's going to make it where people can actually click on this, and it'll bring them directly to my website so they can see it, so I can capture the lead, but not just that, so they can actually see that I'm having an open house. So I'm trying to do two things. I'm trying to capture the lead and also show them that I'm having this open house. Now, once I click share, and I don't want to click that now because I'm not having an open house, it'll say, do you want to boost this ad? And that is when I would say, yes, I want to boost this ad. That way I can advertise to people. I don't spend more than $10, and with that $10, I can have thousands of views on it, which is kind of crazy to just think about. It's like, okay, I'm going to spend just $10 to advertise it, and a couple thousand to see it. Especially if it's a hot house, you could have so many people come through. I remember my flip house where everything was phenomenal in it. I did the same exact thing that I just showed you, open house this Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. Posted a link just like this, and then that directed them to the website to where they could see more photos. I posted a couple more photos on it, or you can create an event for it. You can do either of the two and then boost the event. It does basically the same exact thing. Spend no more than $10, and then you'll literally get thousands of people to look at it, which one, increases your views, two, increases how many people could potentially come through it, and three, if you get some leads out of it, then it's even better because you only spent $10. So I do that for all of my open houses, and there's very few that I don't get many people to come through it. And actually, I find out when I don't do this, if it's not as great of a house, I'm not going to have as many people come through. Another thing that I do is, the reason why I have so many signs in the back is because I love just bombarding the streets with the open house signs. It takes a while, and it kind of sucks when it's cold or rainy out, but it definitely gets people's eyes. When you only put one sign on the corner, or just two or whatever, it doesn't work that well. So every single, like, it gets difficult when you start to have to go through a ton of turns, but every single time what I try and do is put at least 3 on every corner. So say if there's like 4 corners I got to go through, you know, I want 3 signs that are pretty spaced out, probably like 20 feet away from each. That way people have enough time to see there's an open house and know enough to turn. Because if you put it at that last minute on the curve, it's just not, they're either going to pass it and then have to turn around, and it's just inconvenient. You want them to see it way far in advance. So I bought like the nicest open house signs you could think of. There's plenty of them to use. If I'm not using them and someone else isn't, please use them. They're there for everyone to use. But you always want to use a lot, because if you're only putting that one on the corner, no one's really going to see it. So if you don't even have to advertise and you could just use the signs to draw people in, that works. You find the main road and then bring it that way. Every single time what I do is I start away from the house and work my way to the house, so I know how many I have left, because I want to use as many up front as possible to drive in that traffic. And whenever I am having an open house, I go and ask these people, hey, how did you find the open house today? And a lot of times I'll have people say they just saw the signs, and I'm like, oh man, that's awesome, the signs actually worked. And then sometimes they say it on Zillow, which I can show you how we can set up an open house in Rain. I'm sure most of you know how to, but we'll just go over it. So we're going to go over to input, and then you're going to go click on your own listing. So again, I'll go to my Sandbridge property, and then I'm going to go and click on open houses here. And from open house, now this actually shows the last time I did an open house for this property, but I'm going to change the date. And today is April 23rd, so just say I wanted to have it this Saturday. I'm going to click OK. Say I want it from 1 to 4. Refreshments, no, only if you're going to do it. I found not as many people actually use the refreshments. There was times where I made cookies, waters, blah, 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 and I found myself, out of the 20 people that came through, maybe 1 person did it. So it's not worth the time unless you're like trying to bake cookies in the house to make it smell good. I've done that before too. let's see. And then you can always put a description, like mine, for instance, is a condo. So I would say go in A unit, left building, go up the elevator, third floor, first door on the left. You can always do something like that. And then once this is all set, I'm going to make sure it says active. And then I'm going to click submit listing. And then on there, I'll be able to see on the listing, it says open house Saturday 1 to 4 p.m. And then when I go on Zillow, it'll actually say open house Saturday 1 to 4 p.m. as well. If I did to the dates, so I said open house is public, and then I put for Sunday 1 to 4 p.m. no, active yes. And then on our MLS, it'll actually show both dates as an open house, and then it'll say the same thing on Zillow. So you always want people to be able to see that, because people look on Zillow and they can see the open house on here. So it's not like you have to do extra work on Zillow. You just do in the MLS and then it comes over. Now, when you're actually doing the open house, every single time what I do is I make sure I have a sign-in sheet, and I just created my own. All it says is basically 3 marks: your name, your number, your email, and are you working with an agent? Now, a lot of times people will lie on if they have an agent or not. So if they do have an agent and you just ask them, oh, I see here you're working with an agent, what's their name? You know, I've talked about this in the phone conversations before. I bring it up because if they're just trying to use that as a way to not talk to me, I want to try and figure that out, because if I can get them to open up and warm up and they actually say, no, we're not actually using an agent, we just kind of put that. You'll be shocked how many people will do that. So you don't want to miss opportunities. So I always ask, just ask for the name, even if you don't know the person, it doesn't care. It's like, oh, that's a great agent, blah, blah, blah. But if it says no, then you kind of want to not like creepily follow them around the house, but definitely just tell them things about it. Whatever there's like specific things that draw attention to the house, make sure you point it out. Say, oh yes, you want to look at these floorings, these are brand new appliances, roof is only 2 years old. By giving them that info, that stuff that they wouldn't have known, one, it's building that trust between you two. Two, it's making you just be friendly and open to helping this person know more about this house. So when you do that, it just benefits you more in the long run. And then also, if you get their name and phone number, first, you can call them by their name, which is always great to do. And second, if you just verify the phone number, then you can actually reach out to them later. And what you could actually do later is you can go on Boomtown, and then you're going to go add a lead. So if you've got this person's name, phone number, and email, what I want to do is I want to add this person as a lead now. And I'm going to show you how to do that on here. So if I say this was Joe Smith that came through the open house, and his name is joe@smith.com, and his phone number is 757-123-4567, and phone type, I'm going to put mobile. I'm going to say met at open house on 322 Hagen Spring, which is actually one of my other listings. And then this street address and all that is if it was their actual home, which would connect to RPR, which is always nice. Then I'm going to click source. I'm going to click O, and then look for open house. And then it's always me as the agent. And then lender, you can assign if you wanted to. And then you can put buyer, seller, or buyer and seller. So if they have a house to sell as well. And then add lead, and then it goes into Boomtown, and then you can put them on a drip campaign. So you can create a campaign for open houses, or now you can shoot them text from here. So you can even create a text template that says, hey Joe, it was great seeing you at my open house this week. If you ever need anything, please always reach out. Take care, your realtor, Austin Frangoules. It's a great way to just stay in front of leads and use the systems in Boomtown as well, because they're there to help you. And if something's going to text automatically for you, so you don't always have to follow with this person, then it becomes pure gold. So always make sure you follow up with them, because they may be a buyer, and really that's the biggest goal of holding an open house. The biggest things to take away from today is always at least do some kind of advertising for the house, and do it far in advance, especially on Facebook, Instagram. Always post something on there. Spend about $10. That way, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people can see it. Always use a lot of signs when doing the open houses. When you're doing the open houses, make sure you get their info and find out if they have an agent or not. If they do, just ask them. If they don't, tell them more about the house. Make sure you have the correct info. And then lastly, when you're doing the ad, make sure you connect it to your boomtown so you can potentially capture anyone else looking at the site as a lead. And then if you want to ask someone else for an open house, you can ask someone at any company to hold an open house for them, which is great, especially if they have a lot of listings and a lot of listings in the higher price range. And now just know this. The listing agent represents the seller. When you get to that house, you don't represent the seller and you don't represent the buyer. You're basically just going to be a buyer's agent that is working with people as customers. Once they start talking about making an offer and all that, then now you got to bring back, okay, what's our relationship? Let's talk about this buyer broker agreement real quick, especially if they don't have an agent. If they have an agent, then they're just a customer, and honestly, to me, they're usually dead to me because I don't represent the seller, and they already have an agent, so I'm basically nobody in this deal. But if they don't have an agent, then that way you can come in, swoop them, and then if they start talking about it, try and represent them because then it makes life great. Does anyone have any questions that you guys can think of? No? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I hope you got something out of it. Again, we always have a ton of signs over here, so please take them. Just make sure you label down that you took them. If you guys ever have any questions, always feel free to reach out. Bye, guys.